Hi guys, so today I'm here to talk to you about why words matter. And if you've ever been in an argument with somebody, you know that words do matter. You have to pick them carefully. And a lot of situations in life, of course, not just arguments, but just daily things, just life in general. Sometimes if you say the wrong words, people can get defensive or misunderstand what you mean, and sometimes we don't intend to, we just say them a certain way and they come across differently than we might mean or how we interpret them to mean. So in writing, as you can imagine, you also have to pick your words out very carefully. Now, this happens a lot, especially if I'm trying to create a tone, sort of a feeling about a scene. So, there's a difference between saying he stood up, then he jumped up. You know what I mean? There's like little subtle differences, and even like in the back of my latest book, and the devil will laugh. Ooh, look at that. Yeah, even in that book, like when I look at in the back cover, a friend of mine, Jim, you know who you are, helped me with the back cover, and like even some of the words, like because I said I wanted very intense words, and I wrote something up, and then he came along and he really perfected it. But like just the wording as far as trying to find something here. Of course, when I'm looking, I can't find it. It's talking about he's ruthless and determined to stake a claim in the Canadian legal marijuana industry. Government operated privately owned. He and his loyal foot soldiers, which right there says something, will muscle in and tear off a chunk for themselves. Now, those are pretty intense words. I could have said his plans to move in and take over these various pot stores across the country, but that doesn't quite have the same feel to it as, he's going to have his people come in and do this, to say his loyal foot soldiers are going to come in and rip off a chunk or tear off a chunk for themselves. That says something. That's pretty intense. And it's very strong language. It's not subtle by any means, in a sense, a different message. It's not like, yeah, well, we're gonna see what we can do. It's like, we're doing it. and that's important, and that's just one example. I mean, characters speaking, the kind of words they use, certain characters tend to use different words and have a different sort of choice of wording, way they respond to things. For example, you'll see George Hernandez in these last few books. He will say, I don't got time. That's one of his things. I don't got time. And yes, I know it's not proper grammar. I don't need somebody criticizing that. It's happened before. Yeah, I know that, but that's just how he talks. That's his wording. And when he says it, it's serious. He's not messing around. He's telling you, look, this is going to be taken care of now. Anyway, and each character has their own kind of dialogue and the words they choose. A few of the characters, of course, in my book, they're English as a second language people. So sometimes they'll get the words mixed up, or, like Jolene is one of the characters. Her English tends to be very broken. And whereas somebody like Diego, who's talked about working very hard on having better English, improving his English. He's worked with somebody to improve his English. There's a difference. So I have to remember those kind of things when I'm writing. So there's so many things when people are speaking, the words they use, the way they speak, accents, dialogue, all that comes into play. But words are very important, and how you choose them and to communicate is always important. And especially if you're trying to be assertive in a situation, you have to pick your words carefully, and you have to have the right tone. You can't just bark at somebody, because as soon as you seem angry, somebody has the power. But if you're assertive, it's a whole different ball game. So, I mean, it depends on the situation. But when I'm writing, I choose the words very carefully, and sometimes I go back and change them, thinking, this is not intense enough. This is not quite saying what I mean. And It's important. It's just important. It creates a sense of what's going on. It creates a different kind of mood in the scene. It allows the reader to get a different feel. Like I was reading the back cover earlier. You know, if somebody reads that back cover, it says something about the book. It says something about what kind of characters are in this book and how they deal with stuff. You know, they're not lightweights. And you can tell that. You know, they're not a bunch of college frat boys. You know, they are hardcore criminals. That's what I mean. You have to pick your words very carefully. And you have to think of the age group. You know, if you have a teenager speaking, you're probably going to talk differently than somebody who's 25, who's somebody who's 45, 55, somebody of a different cultural background, how they're brought up, you know, it makes a difference in how they speak. And like the kind of words they use, the kind of expressions they use. Different places you will go to, they have different expressions, different ways of communicating. It's really fascinating, and I'm by no means an expert, but it's something that I try to be very aware of. And I think everybody, you know, if in their situation where they have to write an email or have an important conversation or make a speech or anything like that, it's something that they kind of have to be aware of as well. We all are, you know, learning all the time, so nobody's perfect at it, but it's definitely something to consider. So words do matter. What do you think? Check out Mima on Fire to learn more about this and other things. I actually have a lot of video blogs such as this one where I talk about various things, so check them out. Have a great day, guys.